I guess I'm back. Let's see how much this connects and disconnects me. So anyway, let's talk. I've been gone a couple days, right? Let's talk about my whole experience, if you will. So for those that don't know, I was over at a party and a memorial service for my uncle. How we doing, unemployed Mario? Good to see you out there. And I got to tell you, you think you're prepared for these things. You never are. You never are. My uncle was 62. He suffered from what they thought was MS for almost 30 years. Really an integral part of my life. And this video is kind of going to be a tribute to him and not only the things that he did for me and my family, but who he was as a person. Now, before I even get to my Uncle Nick, and hopefully we got 23 watching, 28, let's thumbs it up, guys. I want to talk about seeing my family for the first time in a long time, a lot of them. Time flies, guys. Don't take it for granted. I know everybody's like, oh, he looks so young, he's 40. I hadn't seen my uncle's son, and I didn't even realize almost 11 years, if not more than 11 years, right around. Come on, Carm. Let's go. No, come on. And he was almost like a little brother to me. We lived together. Getting into that, I mean, I'm sitting there talking to him, and I'm like, man, when was it that you actually came to Oneonta? Now, I had visited him in Portland when Loose Change Final Cut came out, I think in 2008, when I was like touring with the video, and we saw each other and it was a good time. But he's like, dude, I came to Oneonta when I was 18. He's like, you were the first guy to take me to a bar. And I'm like, oh my God, that's how long ago this is. Anyway, so actually seeing everybody, my aunt I hadn't seen in 3 years. My other one, God, maybe 3 years too. That was great. That's like the positive aspects of everything. And kind of what keeps you going. I'm gonna tell a story about him. Ride to Laden about taking care of his baby brother and what he had to do. And those MS symptoms really being from Lyme disease. They took him across the country and checked out. And how does that integrate into today? Well, we now know that we're going to have a congressional investigation, it looks like, into the fact that Lyme's disease was a possibly genetically created bioweapon by our government that was unleashed on the people either knowingly or accidentally. And people have talked about this for years. And, my Uncle Sal and my Uncle Nick were some of them. They were. And I'm down to my last blood relative uncle on a big Italian family. I got my aunts left. Luckily, none of them have gone. But I'll tell you what, when his son got up there, he didn't think he was going to buckle either. And it was tough, man. It was tough. And God bless my brother and my sister for getting up there. I couldn't do it. And I'm kind of ashamed because I talk for a living, right? So let's talk about this guy for a second. When he did not have to, ever. Thank you, Nick. Condolences to you and your... Before I get into my uncle, when I came back, and everybody knows that Karma's sick, even though she's looking pretty good. We got her on good meds. I've done those videos. Check them out. She's on CBD, curcum, fenbenzidol, and vitamin E. And so far, so good. A lot better than, the pain meds they gave me for her. So who knows if we're fighting it, but whatever. But my boy, Carlson, last almost 10 years, he was, come on. No. He was hired to work for me while I was heading up a video department in Cooperstown. So when I saw him after he took care of my dog for the weekend, I said, come here, man, give me a hug. I need you to give me a hug. And he's like, really? I'm like, yeah, man. When he did not have to, he helped my mother, who, I don't talk about all this stuff a lot, but she was a teenage mom. Two kids as a teenager, a younger teenager. My dad, in and out of jail all the time, in trouble. Would we have ever lived in the house? And we lived in the top. And he was with his son, Nick. And, for a time, little Nick was like a little brother, not just like a little cousin. Oh, and again, this was a yard. This is where I really got decent at baseball. Stuff you can't measure in dollars. And he was kind to a fault. He's unbelievable, even when he got sick. He's really the guy who smiled, helped my mom beyond belief. He was the first one telling me about sugar and aspartame and the medical industrial complex, all that stuff, all of it. The possible dangers of vaccines, etc. So I can't even tell you the impact not only did he have on my life as a child, but where I would go to as an adult. And that brings me to my other Uncle Sal. who took care of him for years and should be commended as such. And he's a guy that I didn't interact with a lot as a kid. He's a West Coast guy, traveling guy. And he actually, he had a daughter that none of us knew about until, 15, 16 years ago. Found by chance in one of my uncle's entrepreneurial ventures in Colorado, his daughter. So for the first time this weekend, I met her. I met one of my blood cousins. And funny, she had a daughter who's just, I think she's in her last year of school. Her name was Raven. And she wants to get into talk radio and documentary films. So obviously we had some interesting conversations there. And it just shows, I won't be here forever, but looks like somebody in my bloodline's gonna try to pass on information and try to use media as a tool as I have. So getting back to my Uncle Sal, my grandparents are buried in the same cemetery. My Uncle Johnny also buried in the same cemetery. And of course, there's some kind of car alarm going off. And it was on the road to Uncle Sal's, my grandfather's funeral with Uncle Sal, that he first said to me about 9/11. We buried him in September of 2002. And I'd looked into some things, but I definitely was not looking into it like I did on the run up to the Iraq War. You can't take care of it? Thank you. And he said, first of all, he started talking about Oklahoma City and that terrorism, which I found that was odd, and kind of questioning that. And I had no information otherwise than what was told to me was true. And then he said they knew. He started talking about our air defense systems. And I was like, wow. Here. Karma, no. Come on. Sorry, guys. Yeah, so he started saying, they knew and they let it happen. And I was like, wow. And that stuck with me, that conversation. It's not like I went home and questioned it even more a lot then, but that conversation was huge for me. And he was telling me about a documentary I need to check out. I'm going to look for it, about Deer Island and the place they allegedly created Lyme disease. Let's just talk about that for a second. How horrific is it that our government are the type of mad scientists that knowingly or unknowingly, they are going to essentially unleash a bioweapon on its own populace. A disease that, if not caught, can cause massive degeneration before death. The type of death I don't wish on anyone. My uncle, when he was done, was under 80 pounds, 62 years old. And he was one of the healthiest eating and living people I ever knew in my life. So, I'm not gonna lie, it was a tough one this week. It very much was a tough one this week. And I'm a little ashamed I wasn't able to stand there and talk like I am now. And I want to apologize to my family for that. But I really, I don't get into the religious stuff a lot. And I'm really not going to do that here, but I got to tell you, for the time that I have with my family, I cherish it. It's important to me. And, I hope it's not another 10 years before I see his son or my other uncle, or even, another 6 months before I see my mother. Those are the kind of things that really make you think, guys. So, if you didn't see it, I already have one video out today on quantum computing and China, but really it's beyond China. And look at that dog, huh? She's hobbling a little bit, but she's moving. So who knows? Maybe there'll be a late night walk and talk with Karma. I can't tell you for sure. Trying to get Johnny Bedmore on about the new piece he's put out on Epstein and Nicole Junkerman. So hopefully that's going to happen this week. Henningsen on what's going on in the Middle East. I may do a Middle East video today anyway. And then, of course, a Jeffrey Epstein update, as we now have information that the footage that supposedly shoulda, woulda, coulda caught something about the Epstein case, well, it's unusable. Now, they don't say anything other than that, like what kind of unusable? Like, did it catch anything? Was it off? Why is it unusable? Was it sprayed on, et cetera, et cetera? But we got mainstream accounts now. Camera footage unusable. All right, guys. I'll see you on the flip. Thank you for joining me on this walk and talk.